Let's start with a simple thought experiment. Picture the last high-stakes meeting you were in. Now, who did you immediately tag as the smartest person in the room? Was it the one who spoke first? The one with that unshakable, dogmatic confidence? Well, the data shows we consistently get this wrong. We are systematically selecting for confidence when we should be looking for competence. And this right here, this is the caricature that's costing us. It's not just some harmless stereotype. It's a flawed mental shortcut that actively hides real cognitive horsepower. It rewards a performance of intelligence, a series of loud, easy-to-read signals that we've been conditioned to mistake for the real thing. This is the heart of the problem. On one side, you've got the noise. The fast talker, the jargon slinger, the supremely confident actor. And look, our brains are wired to find those signals comforting. But on the other side, that's the actual signal. Intellectual humility, a noticeable pause before answering, and a simple, almost profound clarity. We're about to break down exactly why these quiet signals are the true markers of a high-fidelity cognitive engine. So first things first, we have to completely reframe how we think about this. Stop thinking of intelligence as some kind of personality type, the quick-witted genius. The research frames it as something way more mechanical. It's a biological processing system, and its main job to create the most accurate map of reality it possibly can by filtering out its own internal noise. The goal isn't just to be right, it's to be progressively less wrong.
So how does this system actually work under the hood? Well, let's start with the hardware itself, fluid intelligence, or GF. Just think of this as your brain's raw CPU speed. It's what you use when you're hit with a totally new problem, something you've never seen before, where none of your past experience can help you. It's your pure biological ability to see patterns and think abstractly.
And if GF is the hardware, then crystallized intelligence, or GC, is the software you're running on it. This is your entire database. All the knowledge, skills, and mental models you've downloaded over a lifetime. It's the direct result of investing your raw processing power, your GF, into learning and experience. You're basically upgrading your cognitive operating system year after year. And right here, this is where the popular idea of intelligence just completely falls apart. This shows why raw processing speed is not the whole story. See, your biological hardware, your fluid intelligence, it actually peaks around your late 20s. And after that, it starts a slow, unavoidable decline. But your software, your crystallized intelligence, that can keep getting upgraded well into middle age. This means the fastest thinker isn't always the best thinker. That older expert in the room might seem a bit slower, but that's because they're running vastly superior software on slightly older hardware. So if we can't trust speed, how do we actually detect this high-fidelity processing in the real world? Well, the first piece of forensic evidence is in the language someone uses. It's not about what they say, but the very structure of how they say it. You see, spoken language isn't just for communication, it's a direct, real-time printout of how that person's cognitive engine is running. First, forget about big, complicated words. The real signal has nothing to do with the size of someone's vocabulary. It's about their efficiency. The metric we're looking for is called propositional density, and it's simple. How many distinct ideas can you pack into the fewest number of words? It's a pure measure of informational compression. Just look at the difference in the data rate here. The low-density sentence is just conversational static. Lots of words, but the actual information is vague. The high-density sentence, though, is packed. Accelerating doesn't just tell us the state, it tells us the rate of change. Deterioration specifies the type of change. Necessitates implies a logical imperative. Every single word is carrying a payload. And here it is. This is the smoking gun from the research. A high G, or highly intelligent, system communicates using what is, for all intents and purposes, a lossless compression algorithm. Its goal is to maximize the data transfer, the ideas, while minimizing the token usage, the words. It's a perfect, almost mechanical description of what's happening. Okay, so high-efficiency output is one key signal. But what happens when that high-fidelity system meets hostile input? I'm talking about disagreement or data that directly contradicts its own internal model. This is where the signal becomes absolutely undeniable. The difference comes down to one thing. What's the goal? A low-fidelity system is playing a status game. Its goal is to win, so it uses a straw man. It misrepresents your argument to make it easier to knock down. But a high-fidelity system is on a truth-seeking mission. It uses a steel man.
It will actually strengthen your argument to its most powerful possible form before it even tries to engage with it. Why? Because the goal isn't to win the argument, it's to stress test its own models against the strongest possible counterargument to improve its map of reality. Okay, but let's push back on this for a second. Really stress test our own thesis here. You might be thinking, isn't this all just a personality thing? A slow, methodical thinker versus a fast, intuitive one? Are we just confusing a processing style with a signal of actual quality?
Well, the data says no. This isn't about being uniformly slow, it's about adaptive control. When you give a high G brain routine, predictable info, it responds in about 200 milliseconds. It's already anticipating the pattern. But when you hit it with something novel or something contradictory, you see this 2 to 5 second latency spike. That pause, it isn't a bug, it's a feature. It is the system deliberately hitting the brakes on a fast, sloppy answer in order to engage in deep analytical processing.
So, if these signals of genuine intelligence are actually so clear, why do our organizations and our teams get it wrong so consistently? The problem, it turns out, is systemic. In a group, we don't just misread the signals. Our social dynamics actively select for the noise. And this leads to a predictable and catastrophic failure mode called competence collapse.
And here's exactly how it happens. Groups are, at their core, anxiety reduction machines. They crave certainty. So the probabilistic thinker, the person using careful, nuanced language like, it seems likely or we can't be certain, but they get perceived as weak or indecisive. They get filtered out. This creates a vacuum, and that vacuum gets filled by the high-confidence, low-competence actors who are more than happy to provide the simple, certain, and usually wrong answers the group wants to hear. The organization literally promotes its least adaptable thinkers until it completely loses its ability to see reality clearly.
So what's the final takeaway? For years, we've been tracking the wrong signal. Confidence is a personality trait. It's easy to fake, and, it turns out, is often negatively correlated with actual competence. True intelligence isn't a trait at all. It's the underlying processing system. And the real signals it produces are clarity of thought, the ability to adapt and update its own models, and the intellectual humility to know the limits of its own knowledge.
And that brings us to your predictive indicator. In any given meeting, most people are focused on single-loop learning. How do we solve this problem? The highest fidelity thinker in that room is operating on another level. They're engaged in double-loop learning. They are the one who will pause all the forward momentum to ask a much more terrifying and much more important question. Are we absolutely sure we are solving the right problem in the first place? That is your signal.